So why won't all my DCC fitted locomotives run on analogue DC layouts? Let's find out on the British Railroader. Hello everybody, my name's Steve, I'm the British Railroader and welcome to my model railroad room, where today we're going to be looking at what you need to do to get your DCC locomotives running on analogue DC layouts. Before I begin, I would like to let you know that despite what I said in my update video a few weeks ago, I will be going to the London Festival of Railway Modelling in Alexandra Palace. The show's actually this weekend, 15th and 16th of March. And basically, when I said that, I forgot that I'd actually pre-booked a ticket and also got advanced tickets for my train fare, etc. So I will be there on the Sunday. So tomorrow, the 16th of March, I should be around most of the day. So if you're about, come up and say hello. A video from the show will be posted next week. So let's get back to the subject at hand. Now, this video came about because a friend of mine, Roger from Flare Rail, contacted me with a few ideas of what he thought might make good videos. And one of them was to explain why some DCC fitted locomotives won't run on an analogue DC layout. Now, knowing Roger as I do, this is probably a question that he's had in his mind, and he just thought, you know what, I'll get Steve to have a look at it and do a video about it. So here's that video. To be able to answer this, I'm going to have to take you through some DCC basics. So we're going to look at CVs, we're going to look at what a bit is, and then we're going to look at CVs 29 and 12, and I will show you what you need to do to those to make sure that your locos can, or if you don't want them to, can't, run on an analogue DC layout. I'm going to start, as they might say in America, with some DCC 101. Those of us that use DCC and program decoders know that by changing the number value of a CV, or configuration variable, it will change what it does. But how does that actually work? Well, each CV is made up of 8 bits. Now, the best way to think of a bit is to see it as a switch. You can turn it on and off, which means that depending on the value entered will depend on what the CV will do. The bits are numbered from 0 to 7 and each has a value that will turn it on. For example, bit 0 can be activated by entering a value of 1, bit 1 by entering a value of 2, and bit 2 by entering a value of 4. As you can see, to turn on each ascending bit, you double the value of what turned on the previous bit. This means that by the time you reach bit 7, you turn it on by using a value of 128. If you want to turn on several bits at the same time, you simply add the respective activation values together and input that into the CV. So if you wanted to activate bits 1, 2 and 4, then you would add 2, 4 and 16, which would give you a value of 22. You would then input that into the CV. If you were to add all of the bits together, you would reach 255. Now, there are some CVs, especially to do with sound and speed control, where the switches act more like dimmer switches, where instead of being on or off, you can add part values. The best example of this is volume control on a sound decoder, where you can set it anywhere between 0 and 255. However, we're not going to worry about these types of CVs today. Now, when it comes to using a DCC fitted loco on an analogue DC layout, there are 2 CVs we need to look at, numbers 29 and 12. Starting with CV29, whilst it has the requisite 8 bits, it actually only uses 6 of them, and one of those is only used in certain decoders. Bit 0 controls direction. This is normally off, but if you switch it on, what was the forward direction of the locomotive will become the reverse. Now this is very handy if you model American railroads, because some of the railroads would have the long hood as the forward and the short hood as the rear, whereas most modern locos, the short hood is the front. So you can then swap around the directions so that the front of the loco is the long hood. It's also very handy if you wire your pickups backwards onto your decoder. I've done that before, and rather than go in and resolder, I have cheekily changed direction using bit 0 of CV29. Bit 1 controls speed steps. Off means your loco can only use 14 speed steps. On means it can use the 28/128 speed steps. This is normally switched on by default by the manufacturer. Bit 2 is the power source, and we will talk about this in more depth in a moment. Bit 3 is the one that's not always used and controls what's called railcom. Now this is a system, a communication system, that's used by some decoders and systems. However, I tend to find that on most decoders this is switched off, and in some it's not even set up. Bit 4 is the speed table. Off is the standard 3-point speed table like I use for doing my speed matching. If you switch it on, it will switch on the complex speed tables. The off value is normally the default with this one, so that you can use the 3-point speed tables. Bit 5 is the extended address. Off is short, on is long. Most decoders will come with the short as a default because they are set to address 3. However, when you program your chips using most good DCC systems and you decide that you're going to use a longer address, the DCC system will sort that out for you, so you don't necessarily have to go into CV29 and change it. Bits 6 and 7 are currently not used by CV29 and therefore are off. So if we want to run our DCC fitted locomotives on an analog DC layout, we have to ensure that bit 2 in CV29 is switched on. Now this is easier said than done, as it may already be switched on by the manufacturer. For example, Soundtrack's default value for CV29 in their Tsunami decoders is 2. This means that from the factory only bit 1, the speed steps, is enabled. All others are off. If I were to fit a Soundtrack Tsunami decoder in a loco and try to run it on an analog DC layout, it wouldn't work. Another example is Hornby's new HM7000 series decoders. Both sound and non-sound have the same default value for CV29 as the Soundtrack's ones do. So as they come from the factory, they will not run on an analog DC layout without first adjusting CV29. So why is this? Well, by engaging the alternate power source, it can sometimes cause problems when operating in DCC, such as runaway locomotives. I make sure that when I fit and program a decoder that the value of CV29 is such that it will only run on DCC. I only ever change it if I know that I'm going to be running a loco on someone else's DC layout. What I have found is, however, many cheaper non-sound locomotives will come from the factory with bit 2 enabled, meaning that they will run on both DCC and analog DC. If you're in any doubt and you want to have it either on or off, then access one of the online CV29 calculators and enter the value that you come up with into your decoder. Personally, I normally enter a value of 34 into CV29, which means that bits 1 and 5, the speed steps and the extended address, are on, everything else is switched off. If I want to set a loco to run on analog DC, I will just add 4 to that value and therefore enter a value of 38 into CV29. Once we've done all that, we need to then look at CV12. So CV12 tells us what alternate power sources are available once CV29 has been adjusted. In most decoders this is really simple and it's controlled by bit 0. So if you enter a value of 0 into CV12, the decoder will only work on DCC. If you enter a value of 1, it will work on both DCC and analog.
In most decoders, what I've noticed is that CV12 seems to be set to a value of 1, allowing you the option of then adjusting your power source via CV29. And this is definitely the case in Soundtrack's decoders. However, Hornby have it set to 0. And the reason for this is that they do not recommend the use of sound-fitted locos on analogue DC. If you are using a Hornby HM7000 series decoder and you want it to run on analog DC, you will have to adjust both CVs 29 and 12. Please note though that if you use any DCC sound-fitted locomotives on an analog DC layout, you will have limited sound functionality. Indeed, Rapido absolutely do not recommend using any of their sound-fitted locomotives on analog DC.
Okay, I really hope that that's been clear enough for everybody and it's been helpful. Basically, at the end of the day, your locomotives, if they're DCC fitted, will only run on analog DC if the decoder is set up to do so. One last thing though about running DCC fitted locomotives on analog layouts is about the lights. Now the lights on the loco will only come on under DC if they've already been switched on the decoder. So if you are going to take your loco to a friend's house and run it on their DC analog layout, put it on your own layout first, turn the lights on, and then take it off the track. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and again, I hope that it has been useful for you. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, why don't you consider subscribing to the channel? And when you click on the subscribe button, a little bell will come up. Press it and hit all, and you will be notified of all my videos as they come out. If you have any questions or comments, and I'm pretty sure that this video is going to produce some questions, then feel free to post them in the comments below. Or if you want to, you can email me directly via this email address that's coming across the screen just here. I'm also on social media at all these places, so feel free to follow me on any or all of them. And again, if you've got any burning questions, you can also contact me through the various different channels. YouTube, in its infinite wisdom, has suggested that you watch a video that's going to pop up over here shortly. If you haven't done so already, go and take a look. But if you have seen that video, go and visit my channel, and there's loads of content for you to choose from. But that's it from me for this video. My name's Steve. I'm the British Railroader, and I'm saying goodbye from my model railroad room. Bye bye.